Welcome to Change the Narrative. I'm your host, JD Fuller, an African-American licensed psychotherapist, professor, diversity coach, consultant, and author. We talk about the isms. We talk about the phobias, anything that marginalizes and oppresses. Everything we are not and everything we are is because of fear. Through a mental health lens, we'll have difficult conversations with celebrity guests, political activists, and everyone in between. Our mind will tell us whatever we want to believe, but the truth lives in the body, and that's where change occurs. Are you ready to change the narrative? So, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on, David and Sonia. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having us. Happy
Absolutely.
to be here.
Sure enough.
Divine time.
Excellent.
Let's go.
Excellent. Let's do it. Okay, so my first question, because I'm eager to learn more about you both and your platform, is to Sonia. Can you explain what it means to be a licensed New Thought minister with a degree in consciousness studies from the School of Spiritual Leadership?
Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm gonna need that broken down.
That feels like a lot. It just means you can call me Reverend Sonia. That's really all it means. That's the end of the day.
And
I was ready for a lengthy explanation. Okay.
Yes. No, ma'am. I spent 10 years being a licensed spiritual counselor with Centers for Spiritual Living. And then I got the call into ministry, or more deeply into ministry, quite frankly. And it led me on the path, and I finished my degree and got my license in 2021. And so since then, you have been able to call me Reverend Sonia, although you do not have to.
Hey.
Well, congratulations, Reverend Sonia.
You are very welcome. Thank you.
All right, David, let's get to you.
Yes.
I read that one parent was diagnosed with bipolar and your other parent was challenged by addictions. But you said you always felt the love. Can you say more about that?
It was one of those things that felt like, regardless of what conditions my parents were managing, their priority was always making sure that I had a space of safety to be my most authentic self. And although they were managing what they were managing, their primary role was to be a shepherd of my life. And they really stood in that with a lot of intention, a lot of consistency, a lot of love, a lot of dedication, commitment. I think I am one of those people who feels fortunate to not know what it feels like to not be loved. And so a lot of what I do and a lot of how I show up in the world is because I know I have a privilege that some people don't. The privilege of having both of my parents present, really showering their love, their support, their wisdom, their admonishment, anything that was required to make sure that I was an appropriate citizen. They did it. Regardless of what was going on.
Listen, two things. One, that's incredible because not everyone has that story coming from those same complicated backgrounds. So, I'm very, very happy for you. You are blessed in that way for sure. The second thing is that I don't believe people from the global majority should be using the word privilege. You had the benefit.
The benefit. I will take that.
Because privilege comes with skin color in this country and in the world. And that is not something you had access to, but you did have the benefit. So I'm really happy for you.
Affirming it to be so. That's right.
Right on. Right on.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't want us claiming something that's not our reality.
Come on now, let's keep it real. 100%.
Yes.
100.
Yes.
Okay, so you both have used this term, and I want to know what it means. What does it mean to be unapologetic optimist?
Unapologetic optimist. It's so interesting because I feel like in a lot of spaces, being an optimist, like they say, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. And if you're optimistic, you're living in in a dreamland. And quite frankly, I feel like it's our responsibility to be about what's possible for us, right? Like we've had so much taken and so many opportunities removed from what is possible for us. And so I have to be about the optimism of it. What's possible? What can we do? And in fact, I know we can continue to do great things. And so I feel like I'm unapologetically optimistic in that way. Like I want to be about what we can do. I believe in us and I want to be about that.
David, anything you want to add?
Yeah, for sure. I'm also blessed to have the benefit of the influence of my great grandparents on both sides of my mother and my father. And one of my great grandparents would often make the statement, be in it, but not of it. And so how that translates for me to be unapologetically optimistic is that I know what I see. I know the brutality that I see on Black and brown bodies. I know, all of the things that I see around people and them having their basic needs met. But there is to Sonia's point, I have an opportunity to see and know something different in spite of what I see. Because my mindset, the thoughts that I think, and the energy and the frequency and the vibration of those thoughts have power. They have power in my own individual experience, right? And they have power in spaces that I show up in. So it's not pretending that the things that we see are not happening. It is acknowledging that they are happening and knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is something more expanded for all of us to experience collectively and for me to experience individually.
I appreciate that a lot. I am not unapologetically optimistic.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real.
I have no art. In fact, so yes.
Hence the word unapologetic, because you got to stand in that, because there's a place for everybody's sentiment. But please.
Well, I appreciate it though. I value it. It's why I asked about it, because I need more of that. And I'm definitely spiritual. I definitely believe, but I'm challenged. I'm deeply challenged, and it might be because I am a therapist and I carry a lot of what people experience. And I know you both do as well, but I appreciate your ability to maintain your optimism. So I'm gonna lean into that and appreciate what you do.
Let's be clear. It requires effort. It is not easy.
It is not
I don't wake up saying, "Oh, I'm about to be an unapologetic optimist." What I get up and say is, before I turn the TV on, before I look at my phone, before I give anything the first fruit of my attention, I am going to root myself. I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to stand in my spiritual practices before I have another voice that can influence how I shape and start my day. Like my spiritual practices and the things that I lean into first thing in the morning support me in maintaining my optimism. And being unapologetically optimistic does not mean I'm unapologetically optimistic 100% of the time every day.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I'm saying?
fair.
Like that is, I think that's unreasonable.
Right.
But the sum total
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, finish. I was saying that's fair.
The sum total of the experience is, if I can say which way the arrow hits, it hits towards, unapologetically optimistic most of the time, but it requires work and it takes intention.
Right. For sure.
For me.
Absolutely.
So, I hear that. I receive that. I do not disagree. I will say that, time wears on you. I mean, I'm an elder in the community and time wears on you. And so the reason I, started this podcast was because I want to uplift voices, and many of the voices help me find hope, because there's too many days I find myself hopeless, and my practice is very much spiritual. It's how I start my day. And it's challenged throughout the day. And so it's challenged throughout the day, and I appreciate other lenses and offerings. It really is helpful. So thank you for your perspective. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, you created a social impact organization that is helping to promote mental wellness called Blackfullness. What is the goal of Blackfullness?
We have multiple. The primary goal of Blackfullness is to help Black folks reduce their stress through mindfulness. That's the primary goal. What's happening in that is an opportunity for us to lean into healing justice, an opportunity for us to lean into supporting people and seeing them their best selves, and an opportunity for us to disrupt some of the health disparities around mental health support for African Americans, and to help us ease up on the stigma around mental health.
Okay, you just opened up a whole can that I'm gonna have to jump into. So I have this new mentality that I've been teaching in classes, and I have been just sort of developing, which is, I don't know and it's not original, believe me, but I don't know that a healing is possible with racial trauma when the wound is constantly disrupted daily. And so I wonder what your concept of healing looks like on this journey, because I believe that we as brown and black bodies are capable of thriving. We do that every day in different ways. And I also believe that we are tired of surviving, because in my mind, that's hanging on by a limb. And I don't want to overshoot the healing, because I think it asks of us something that it's systemically not possible at this time. Because things would have to end for the rupture to be receive enough. Let's just use reparation,
Right.
as the salve of healing. So I really want to hear what your concept is of the healing aspect of what you do.
So systemic is huge, right? Systemic is huge. And one of the things I know that Sonia and I believe strongly in, if I may speak on this in terms of like spiritual philosophy, is that if I can maintain some sovereignty on what's happening right here within my own self, that is the first place that healing can begin, because what it does is it offers the feeling of sovereignty. And so with mindfulness and with Blackfullness, one of the additional goals is that we want to expand our people into the feeling of choice and sovereignty. And so with mindfulness, we know that it provides a space of clarity. And so we know that between stimulus and response, there's an opportunity to choose an action, a behavior, understanding there are conditions and circumstances be outside of me, beyond me, that I cannot necessarily directly put my hands on and control. And if I am able to put myself in a position where I get to choose my thoughts and my behavior and my choices, thoughts of thriving, thoughts of expanding, thoughts of evolving, or if I can put myself in a place of presence, I can respond in a way that's not a forced choice, that's more of us being able to choose. And so mindfulness brings a state of presence. And so that presence is a way to resist. I think for Black History Month, the theme was rest is resistance. Taking time to rest is operating in our sovereignty that gives us an opportunity to choose. Like anytime I have a chance to choose, I'm healing, because all throughout my own personal journey, I've been in situations where I've been told what to do. I've been told what's good for me. We want to support Black folk in having a choice, and exercising more choice. That's a great beginning place. Healing is huge and it's expansive and it's complex. And our lane is individual sovereignty.
So what I like about what you're saying is that what I am about in my private practice, which is it's an inside job.
It's an inside job.
100%.
100%.
And so how this connects to that for me is the idea that if you do your internal work, it will facilitate your external practice.
Absolutely.
Right? So how you move through the world, how you thrive in a way, because I don't want to tell Black and brown people you have to be resilient anymore. That means I can keep knocking you down and you're going to bounce back.
Come on.
And that's not the reality of what we're living. We have to be more reality based with how we are going to do what we do. And so I like the idea of, the internal process and grounding yourself in that. And the second part of what I love is being present, because all you have control over is this present moment and time, and how you place yourself there is what grounds you or doesn't ground you. So that's what I'm taking away from what you're saying. Would you say that's on point or close enough?
Nailed it.
Sure enough.
Okay.
Better synthesize over there. Come on, now synthesize it. People.
Wait, people get tired of hearing me talk, so I like to bring others on.
I appreciate being on too.
They know what I'm about to say. Sonia, did you want to add anything to that?
I feel like I want to just add the idea, expanding on this idea that healing is a big idea for sure. And I think it looks different over time, right? And because it's an inside job, it's going to look different over time. And because we're complicated and people-y and all the things that we are, it's, it's like that onion that you're sort of peeling, but it's always a layer of healing, right? And it, it's kind of like the mountaintop. Do I really feel like at the end of the day, I'm going to lay my head down and I'm going to, check healed? I don't know if that's the thing. But it's absolutely a direction, right? It's absolutely the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Buddhism, right?
Exactly.
Inner peace is the goal.
Exactly.
I'm not saying you're ever going to actually get there, but you're on the journey and you should aspire. I feel that. I feel that completely.
Yes.
I also think that the reason why I reject the idea of healing, I think it's a Eurocentric perspective that's been placed on racial trauma that's just it's not okay. It doesn't work that way. But I love the idea that you bring of, it's a journey.
Yeah,
it's a journey.
And here's the thing. We have a mentor that says practice makes permanent, not perfect. And the more often that I have an opportunity in my own journey to practice being present with what's happening within all of this and being okay with it, and not adding any judgment to it, right? One of the things about Blackfullness that I really appreciate is that we are reminding Black folk that you have already been doing things that are mindful, right? Like, how you look at your self-care, your grooming, the barbershop, basketball, like whatever it is, you've been mindful. The thing that we want to support our people in is adding a level of intention to the things that they're already doing that bring joy, that bring peace, that bring presence. Be intentional about it and be consistent about it to know I'm doing this because of this, so that this.
Yeah, that's good.
And so we want to create an accessible way, a fun way, a culturally relevant way for our people to be able to do that. Right. Because we know that advocacy, when we see ourselves in the experience, we're going to be committed to the practice of it. Which means we get to make, I won't use the word healing, but we get to make the process of expanding into our highest and best selves.
Yeah.
And every, an ongoing experience.
And I'm not trying to take away your healing language. I just like to add to it.
Yes,
and I think that, I think I appreciate both. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You said something that jumped out for me and I want to get back to it. You spoke to collectivism, and that's who we are as a people. And so I love the idea, the community focus, like what we do internally matters, but also we influence others because that's what we do.
Sure.
That's how we do. Yeah. And in terms of, this idea that you make it fun as well, and you're trying to remove the stigma of mental health, it's really sort of mind blowing that we have a stigma about it. And it's hard not to believe that's rooted in white supremacy, because how do we have a stigma about something we didn't have access to?
Right.
Come on.
Right.
That's what makes sense. There you go.
So it feels like just another thing that was handed down to us. Like, your community has a stigma because we didn't want to go to, white establishments and trust our souls and our physical and mental health. I don't know that that's a stigma. I just think it's a lack of access. And I want to replace that because I don't like how that holds us hostage.
I feel all of that, especially when I know there was some research that came out from the APA talking about apologizing for the part they played for all the parts they played, right? In our oppression, right? In our ongoing,
in our health equity,
in our exactly,
lack thereof.
Exactly, or lack thereof. So I absolutely feel that. I absolutely feel that.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that I appreciate. I think I'm also listening to Rest is Resistance, Trisha Hersey, and there's a thing in there where she says, even in our language about taking care of ourselves is rooted in white supremacy. Like, no longer will she talk about needing to fill her cup, right? Because that we never even had a cup. Like, what we should do. Yeah. So I appreciate that idea that it's not about the stigma, it's about the lack of access. Because when you give, I think, Black folks the opportunity to be healed and well, we're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Succeeding at what sometimes feels like 25% of my capacity. because I'm dealing with the racism, I'm dealing with the oppression, I'm dealing with the poverty, I'm dealing with the inequities. Imagine what I could do when you clear some of that crap away.
Just a little bit.
Just give me a little more space.
Just a little bit.
Right?
Exactly.
We're hoping that we help Black folks create a little more space so that we can really thrive. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Look, I have a problem with, a seat at the table. How are you going to have a seat at the table and they keep pulling chair away?
But
Come
wait,
on,
but
come on.
hold on. I'm going to take it another step. A table that wasn't designed for you to sit at.
Come on.
No.
I don't want that seat.
Yeah.
Change the table.
Yeah. Make our own table.
Make our own table.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, in a podcast I did recently, oh my God, me and the guest got off on the idea of, taking a day just for Blackness. Like every Black person, just don't go to work, don't go to school, and see what the world looks like.
So boring.
A mess.
It would be so boring. It would be so boring without us. It would be boring.
Play without Blackness.
It would be efficient.
Right.
Here's the thing. And this is why sovereignty is so powerful for Sonia and me with Blackfullness, because we realize and we know that Black folk are magical. Like, we are amazing. Sonia just said something really dope, and it reminds me of the Michael Jordan basketball game where Jordan had the flu, went out there and killed some records. But that's a great metaphor for what Black folk are doing on a daily basis. We have so many things that are in the way, so much muck, and we're still out here thriving and killing it and setting culture and, being the culture and all of these things. Just 25% more of clarity and presence and the way that we can really use that presence to go back to a point that you mentioned, JD, was to really see the power and the importance of community. That is why we were separated from our families. That is why we were pulled apart, because those colonizers knew that together we were unstoppable.
Look, this is the reason why I've stopped using words like minority and people of color. We are the global majority.
That's
Right.
right.
That's right.
We have to start embracing that and what that means.
And that's data. That's real data. That's not just making some stuff up. That's data.
Right. That people of color thing just wears me. The first time somebody said that to me, I was like, wait. There's more of us than anything else. How you gonna lump all of us together? Like, what? How is that the way? Yes. So I feel you. All done.
So you said that, and this is what I say about this podcast, right? It always seems like it's very specific. Maybe it's geared towards a certain group, but in reality, everybody benefits from it. And if you don't listen because you don't look like me, you're missing out on opportunities to learn.
Come on.
And this is what I'm saying about it related to what you said, which is, you want to replicate the model, and it can be applied to all marginalized groups that are greatly affected by stress. So I want you to say more about that, would you?
Yes, absolutely. So I think one of the things we try to lean into is that we say that we're unapologetically about the Black experience, because that's the experience we have, right? And that is the experience that is Black folks are the most impacted by stress, right? Like 4 times more than any other culture. We lead all races in allostatic load, right? Which is the wear and tear on our bodies from stress. We have the highest, treatable,
I got it
all the things, right? So the idea of us being able to heal ourselves and then make space for other cultures to do it similarly, we think is really important. So there's that which resonates for us, right? We know that Black folks aren't a monolith, but there are the things that resonate for us as a community. And then we know that that's true for other communities. So we think about Latino communities, we think about Asian American or Pacific Islander communities, and we want to lean into them having that same opportunity to see themselves in the mindfulness and figure out a way with our support. And our intention is to be able to support them creating a similar model for their own cultures.
And let's just be honest. I mean, nobody has benefited more than white women from what we've done and has been done, on our own behalf. So it does translate. And like Resma says, white bodies are impacted by white supremacy as well. When that's realized, things will really take a turn. It's not our fight.
Correct. The problem is theirs. And so As long as they think believing that we are supposed to solve the problem, it's going to keep being a problem because the problem is theirs to solve. White supremacy is the white folks' problem to solve. Absolutely.
Just saying.
The other thing we know is that the realness of my experience is that Black folk have gone through and continue to go through a tremendous amount of stress-related experiences living in this particular country. I'll speak from that point.
It's the world, brother.
I know, but you know what? I want to speak from the context of, keeping the first 100%.
Right on.
And we also know that if we have been able to create a solution that is providing results within the Black community, the most impacted community, anything else that we take out to other marginal, then it has to work in other spaces. It just has to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like logic. If you take and you go after the biggest opportunity, you have a solution that works, and you take that solution and replicate it with some modifications so that there's still the experience of folk in those communities seeing themselves, then it's taking that magic and spreading it. And because the goal is that we all wake up to our greatness.
Yeah, I feel you. And, history has proven when you work with the most marginalized, the most oppressed, it benefits others.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
It's not a secret.
So that's why whenever we do our programmatic work within spaces, corporate spaces, academic spaces, we are encouraging, participation from allies or folk who don't even realize that they need to be allies, because it's all about circulating information, sharing data, sharing experiences, making it personal. Like, however we can do that in a way, 100%. The focus is on the stress reduction for Black folk, but the opportunity is also for visibility to folk to know what Black folk are going through, not just to know from a standpoint of cognitive knowing, but from a standpoint of it getting real and raw.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And uncomfortable.
Yeah. Comfort's overrated. I say that all the time in all my classes.
Right. Anybody ever die from uncomfortability? Let's go.
Nobody. I want to push on one other thing because it's just my way.
Come on.
And that is that, they can't be allies in a war that's theirs.
Well,
what?
We are great students.
Yes.
We like to learn and expand.
You're right. You're
expand
absolutely
right.
That's so I believe, calling people ally is a gift, because that means you can sit on the side and watch and be Switzerland. And I'm not wrong that.
You're not Switzerland.
I have absolutely heard that ally equals bystander. I have absolutely heard that.
Here's what we all was Switzerland.
I don't even know geography. I don't know geography at all, or history. I just do that out there.
But it's so real though. But yeah. Makes sense. But the folk, the folk who can actually use the folk who can use their position, and can use their access and their influence to actively.
Right.
That's
right.
it.
For us, allies are active partnership. They're actively using their privilege in a way that supports us. It's not, you don't just get to be there and smile and be like, I'm an ally.
Because you in the example.
Exactly. Because I absolutely know some bullies in ally clothing. Right. And so
that's the thing about it, is that it gives a tapping out. It gives a timeout. I think we have to all be of the abolition, and we have to be, activists in our own way. And I know those are scary words for white-bodied individuals, and I still think it's time to change and shift the lens, because it's hurt. Say it again.
I said slavery was scary too, so a little bit of discomfort. Also, ain't nobody ever died from being uncomfortable.
That's right. That's a true story. So side note, I want to know how you two met, and then I have a couple more questions for you before we wrap.
Cool.
How'd you find each other?
Okay, so we are in the same spiritual community.
Yes.
I am Reverend Sonia. But I am also the administrator for our spiritual community. And we're always looking for volunteers, sacred service. We believe in service. And this young man was in between employment, I think, and was excited to serve somewhere. And he came to the church in his little best outfit on a Tuesday, his resume. And And I was like, okay, homie.
Lord, I wanted to give I wanted to give my best. I wanted to give
Right
my
on.
best. But what Sonia didn't say was for about 2 weeks before I wanted to serve, I was trying to find out who she was because everybody kept saying, you need to talk to Sonia. You need to talk to Sonia. And I was in that church trying to figure it out. And then eventually
Hilarious.
life worked out and I got into an expanded version of service. And I spiritual.
And then really what came along was pandemic. David's family is actually in the South Carolina. And my mother is the keeper of strays. And so
she'd be cool.
So really she's the keeper of strays. And so so he became part of our bubble for pandemic time.
That's amazing. So it just worked out. An amazing story.
And all I can say is I'm grateful we didn't grow up together because it would be a whole problem.
My mother used to collect people too, so I know.
But you know what? Some people they leave and go. I'm probably over here 3 or 4 times out the week, eating up all her food.
So much. It's so much. And I grew up an only child, JD. So
no,
it really.
Oh, JD, I come in hot too.
I don't
easily.
So much.
So I am thankful and grateful that Sonia continues to say yes to my little brotherhood. But great. But it was good because leading up to us being able to do what we're doing now, we served together, and Sonia and I have put on events together prior to becoming official business partners. So our spiritual journey, our spiritual center, gave us a little bit of when it came time to put Blackfullness together, it was oh, it's a no-brainer. I know how she get down. She knows how I get down. We both don't play that. We both believe in excellence. So it feels like a divinely aligned partnership, for real. The things that Sonia really loves to do, I'm you got it, go for it, hit that. I'm gonna support you.
Same.
And it's almost like the ancestors said, we need something to happen big, and we're gonna bring the right people together that can hold this, that can shepherd it, that have a heart for the people, that can operationally get it done. Because that's the other. Having the heart is one thing, but having the heart is not all that is required. There were additional things that are required for a mission, a movement like ours. Because literally, it's an app. We're a content organization, but at the core of it is social justice motivated, and it is a movement.
Right on.
We want people from stress, like the new Underground Railroad.
That's right.
I love it. I'm going to ask one more quote, and then I want you to tell everybody where to find you and all that you're doing. So you said, we must be willing to be the light when you can catch and find places to get light when you can't. Did I say that right? Be willing to be light. Oh, let me say it again. Cut that out, please, producers. I screwed that up. Let's try it again. Okay. You said, be willing to be light when you can and find places to get light when you can't. The work is real, but so is the positive and lasting impact.
Yes.
Yeah. Say something about that before we wrap, would you?
Man, when people ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm living the dream. And then I have to kind of preface it with a little asterisk that says the dream is hard ass work. Right? For the rest. But it kind of leads into that unapologetic optimism. I believe that there is a good and a power and a love in the universe that is for us, that has our best interest in mind, and that it is our responsibility to lean into that. Now, it's not for everybody, and I realize that, but so many people in so many spaces are light bringers. And they don't quite bring therapists, absolutely are light bearers. Teachers
100%
are light bearers, right? I believe in that with my whole heart. And so it's important for me to be about that, which means there's a whole lot of, I stand guard at the portal of my mind, right? That means there's a whole lot of stuff that is not allowed. You don't get to take up residence in my thinking, in my space. It means that I'm about bringing light. And that hard ass work means I don't always have it. Right. And so I've got to sleep. And so I spend my time surrounded by people who can look at me and say, she don't have the light today. Let me help. Let me get closer. Let me support her in being the light. And I think it's important that there are people who want to do that because not everybody's able. And I realize that trauma is real, right? And while there are people who seemingly are sort of rising above it, there are so many people. I also believe that people die in the shadow of our light, right? And so we can't just be, oh, I'm all light. It's all good. I'm not that. I know that there are people who need support, but it is my role to try to bring that light, right? And when I can't find it, I'm looking for other people who can.
I love that so much. It speaks to reciprocity. You know, people think that my sister's one of those people and she'll call me out for calling her out, but it's true. Give. Well, sometimes you have to be around people who are also giving, and reciprocity is what strengthens the bond and the bridge. So I really appreciate how you explain that. I think it's a perfect way to end. But now, please, social platforms, social media platforms, websites, lay it all down now so people know where to find you and how to get your app, please.
The beautiful thing about Blackfullness is that we're the only ones with that name. So on all the socials, with the exception of Instagram, you can find us at Blackfullness. On Instagram, we are The Blackfullness.
That's right.
And you can find The Blackfullness on www.blackfullness.com. Our website is up now. We are doing a revamp on that website. But check us out now. It's still popping.
Right. Mental Health Awareness Month is in May. And so we have a whole lot of new stuff coming out. We'll have a bunch of new content on social. We'll have a bunch of new content on our website. Remember that Blackfullness has 2 L's.
2 L's.
Because we are about Black folks living their full lives.
Let's go.
And for the record, the name came from an interview with Audre Lorde. She said back in an interview in like 1987, maybe she was talking about St. Croix and being there. And she said that she had a refreshing sense of Blackfullness. And I was like, that is what I'm talking about. I want to be about the Blackfullness and the sort of that refreshing sense of being our best selves. Absolutely.
Perfect way to end. You two are amazing. Very, very lovely people. I'm so glad I've had the pleasure of spending time with you, sharing space. Please, please, please stay connected. I'll let you know when the show drops. I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for all that you offered today. I receive it.
For having us.
Thank you.
More.
Thank you for the platform. Thank you for the space. And thank you for what you're doing to bring truth to the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Be well, all.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.